do we have a fixed mindset in something that like, oh, well, these are only the talents and the knowledge that I was given? Or am I going to challenge myself to the place where it's actually choosing a growth mindset of, no, I can learn from this. I mean, there's so many examples, but you get around people that, maybe are struggling with, I don't know, depression or whatever the case may be, or maybe their children are. My word of advice, in addition to seeking medical attention, would be go learn, go study, go understand.
April, welcome to the G-Force podcast. I am so excited and honored to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the woman that is why I'm here today. She has changed my life and profoundly impacted me. She's the one that took little 18-year-old Brittany and believed in this crazy little survival chick and said, nah, you should go into business. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm cut out for that. I think they require sleeves. And this woman believed in me, invested in me as a person, and I am just so excited to be in contact with you 12 years later. Wait, 14 years later. Oh my gosh, we're getting old. You still look the same and you still look great. April, thank you so much for being on the show today. How are you feeling?
Good. I adore you. I'm a huge fan and I'm so proud of you. I know you're always so sweet. You're like, this is April. She's the reason why, but you did it yourself and you're amazing. And I'm excited to sit here and have this chat. I feel like we should have like a fireside chat with like our coffee mugs or something.
Yes, coffee mugs filled with champagne. That is what we should be doing. But during COVID-19, we're going to do this virtually. And again, so grateful to have you because what you've poured into my life and just watching you over the years and see you overcome almost insurmountable obstacles and build company after company and success after success and have babies and just continue to crush it and look good. The world can learn so much from you. So I'm going to give a little background on who April is. April Bernal is a serial entrepreneur. When I say serial entrepreneur, she is truly a serial entrepreneur. She's unstoppable. It's crazy the ideas this woman comes up with. I just want to sit at the bottom of a rainbow and like collect these ideas and go turn them into billion-dollar companies because that's the kind of mind this woman has. So April's a serial entrepreneur who loves God and loves people. She is on a mission to help end negative self-talk. She's a mother to 4 beautiful children and the owner and founder to EHR Concepts, which is a healthcare IT firm, and Illuminative, an e-commerce women's apparel brand, which is so cool. Can't wait to tell you guys about that in a little bit. She's a philanthropist at heart, having already given away over $1 million to missions and humanitarian aid. She also has a book coming out at the end of the year, which I demand to be the first to read, called How Gratitude and Generosity Made Me Wealthy. April, you are amazing. So we are sitting here 14 years later after you met me. You are a member of G-Force, and I want to kind of explain what a serial entrepreneur is to people. It's when you own you own different companies. And she is a force for good in each and every single one. And the question a lot of people have asked me before we even started recording this is, how did she even get into entrepreneurship and then having been so successful in all of these companies over the years? So how did you get into entrepreneurship in the beginning?
That's a good question. It's funny because growing up, it's like most likely to go into like ministry or missions, me. Like most likely to have a business, me. Like I never imagined that I would have such a passion to own companies. But if I look back, if you look back at in your life, I loved student council and running for student council and leading it. And then I loved being class president and I loved putting groups together. So even as a child, I think my passion was always to lead and to love, like genuinely. So I didn't realize that was setting me up for business. How did I actually like launch my full-on career in entrepreneurship? It actually came through hardship. My dad had his 3rd heart attack. My mom took a week off to be in ICU with him. And when she went back to work, she was let go because they were doing layoffs. And about a month before that, my grandmother had just lost her house in a hurricane in South Florida. So here I'm looking at my family, and I came from blue collar, day in, day out, not set yourself up for retirement. So immediately I just asked myself, what is my purpose and mission in this moment? And I thought, what if I tried to start a company with my mom? And dad had a chimney sweep company growing up. So I knew that she knew at least operationally what needed to happen. But that was when I first launched my first real company. And, it did take off. I mean, very, very quickly. I didn't know what I was doing.
How old were you?
I didn't. Um, ooh, oh my goodness. Maybe 30, I guess maybe 28. Okay. Yeah, because I'm 41. Oh, I'm showing my age. So about 13 years ago.
Did you have a big investor and any kind of training before you went into this? No. You just did it.
Thank you for asking that, because this is a huge part of what I did. I actually continued to work my job, and I took my paycheck and I divided it up. So I would take a piece and I would give some to my mom. And then I would take a piece of my paycheck and I gave some to somebody that I hired at that time. I can't remember what I hired, maybe $15 an hour to help me do sales. And so I had 2 people, and then I lived off of a pittance, and then, or whatever you say it, and then I put the rest in a bank to try to grow the company. I had no money, no loan, knew nothing about lending or borrowing or advances or anything. And I just did it myself, but by dividing up my paycheck to say, let's try. And so I worked to fund my company.
Were you getting like $1 million paycheck, or were you a bankroll? I mean, how big was your paycheck?
Yeah. So at that time I was working as an independent consultant. So I was getting paid pretty well. I can't remember if it was $80 an hour or $100 an hour, which was a lot of money at that time. And I had worked myself into consulting, which if anybody wants to be an independent contractor, they can just take your expertise and be a consultant and charge, $100 an hour. So it was decent. But so I was able, let's say it was 80, I did live off of $20 an hour, give $20 an hour, give 20, and then put the rest in the bank account to build a business.
Wow.
And I've never borrowed money on that business since, and I've been debt free on that business since. And I didn't quit until the income of the business could provide and supplement, and it was still scary to quit.
Oh my gosh. So you start this new business, everything's a perfectly smooth road, right?
Sure. No, I mean, there's always, to me, but isn't that life? You know what I mean? You can take business and apply it to life so much of the story of resilience and mental fortitude, and I can look at my businesses, and that's one of my passions, is to tell people, hey, I wish I knew this, or by the way, but I mean, it just makes, to me, I love it because it makes you stronger and it makes you so grateful when things are going well. But no, of course, it's not
don't expect them to go well, but when it is going well, it's a bonus. I actually think that's profound wisdom, because people, I know in my journey, I felt like I was doing something wrong and life was punishing me, or God was punishing me when things got wrong. I've been off track. And so this is punishment. Now, sometimes I just didn't know what I was doing, and there are consequences to that, but problems are there because you're overcoming obstacles. It's not that the obstacles are always there because you made them there because you're doing something wrong. I mean, do you have anything to add to that logic?
Yeah, I mean, when you were just saying that, immediately, a verse came to my mind, which hadn't really come up to my mind, but it's like, consider it pure joy when you face trials, and it's like, whoa, that doesn't make any sense. Be joyful in a trial. And I think in life and in business, if we could actually practice that by being joyful in a trial, I mean, imagine the mountains that we would climb higher and faster if that truly became what we practice every single day, is joy. And I just think I've learned along the way that I really believe that pain is meant to be put in our life, and not to say that we walk in a life of pain, but for purpose and passion.
Mm.
And taking that and being purposeful and full of passion. I mean, what a beautiful life we would live together, you know, in general and in life, versus holding on to anger and resentment and bitterness or jealousy or strife or anything else, you know, that wants to cause that division. Um, Anyways, we're going down this rabbit trail, but it's fun because it's like that's who we are, and that is my passion.
Do you have any practical exercises to have joy during the tribulation? Because it sounds real nice and fancy. But I also know, as cool of a scripture as that is, like, what's the practical way to do that? Because when during tribulation, our survival instincts are to just fight, push back, change it, change, because pain, it's like touching a hot stove. Like, you want to get your hand off of it and you want to pay attention to how much pain you're in. So, what advice do you have?
Yeah. So there's a book that I highly recommend called it's by Dr. Carol Dweck. It's called Mindset. And she practically teaches on a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And a fixed mindset is something that's basically static. It's what you're born with, it's a level of talent you have, it's a level of intelligence you have. And a growth mindset is how to activate your brain to enhance a talent, to increase a talent, and or to grow your intelligence. So the choice is essentially ours. Do we have a fixed mindset in something that, like, oh, well, these are only the talents and the knowledge that I was given? Or am I going to challenge myself to the place where it's actually choosing a growth mindset of, no, I can learn from this? You know, I mean, there's so many examples, but you get around people that, maybe are struggling with, I don't know, depression or whatever the case may be, or maybe their children are. My word of advice, in addition to seeking medical attention, would be go learn, go study, go understand. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
have 4 kids. So if my kids are acting out, I, as a parent, need to go learn and study and gain understanding on all the various facets. And I've learned this so many times in my life when I just simply tried. So to me, it's asking yourself, do I have a growth mindset? Am I willing to try? And then, of course, practicing it. So we haven't gotten to Illuminative, but this was one of my companies that was my passion project. And I was going through a divorce. I was married to an addict, and it was very painful. I consider a divorce similar to a death.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of hurt and grief that happens along the way. Well, I started practicing mantras and confessions over myself. And I would say, I am brave, I am love, I am powerful, I am smart, I am kind. And as I began to say this every day, whether I had tears coming down my face or not, or whether I believed it or not, I still did it because I had to believe who I was in those moments. And I realized so many things in my life when I begin to believe and I take my mindset and I choose to confess over myself, I am smart, I am capable, I am brave. Those
Mm-hmm.
are practical things that everybody has the opportunity to do. Believe it or not, it's harder said than done because that's the last thing you want to do.
Right. So, what did you do about that? You took that empowering belief system and you put it into your business. And I want you to share it now. I know we're jumping ahead, but I would love you to share because it's so genius. And this is what we mean, people, by being a force for good in the world. Of course, you can be a force for good by just being kind, and that costs you nothing. You don't have to have a company, you don't have to have a network. That is a micro level of massive impact that you can do day to day. But then you can also take your purpose and your passion in something that really changed. I mean, that carried you through. Probably, if not, I don't know your whole story, but I would beg to say that was probably the most difficult part of your life.
Yes, it
And
was.
that carried you through. So, what did you do with that?
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we all have challenges, but from, you know, infertility to starting business to whatever, absolutely. packing my four kids up, walking out that door, being brave enough to say no more to the bad behavior, and then everything that came with it, 100%. It was absolutely the hardest thing that I have ever done. So I started to ask myself, okay, April, you've had many successful businesses, one that is done specifically very well. What is your calling? What are you like? What else is it? And one thing, and you know this, that I've always loved is I've loved to inspire and coach and train up people, to tell them who they are and to get them to come up higher if they just realized how incredible they were. You know, most people, it's like if they just knew their value, or specifically how God created them, like we would all be changing the world. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I decided to do this through clothing. And I giggle to myself because I'm not even like a shopper or a clothes wearer per se, but I thought if I could design clothes, stamp them with these I am statements, every time a woman would put on that sweater or put on that cardigan that says I am beautiful, or I am loved, or I'm grateful, which whatever they have, and they looked at it enough, then they would eventually walk in their truth and it would change their life.
Ooh.
So I literally designed clothing from scratch, from the sewing to the picking to the manufacturing to the sourcing, and I didn't have any experience in this. But just to make clothes to empower and inspire women to what I call wear your truth. I actually, in case, you know, we're going to talk about it here, I took like, so here's a tag. Can't really show it. And this one says, I am generous, because I think women don't walk in their generosity that they are. I mean, we're generous with our time as a mom. We're generous with our life, you know, in giving of anything to ourselves, but also giving to ourselves. And then like, here's another sweater that just says, I am loved. And everything is just meant to be cozy and warm and universal. We have 7 sizes, but that ended up being my passion project. And yeah, it's fun because it has so much purpose. And you know what? It's like, yeah, you can build a business, but where's the purpose and how does it make a difference?
Exactly. You know, in my journey, I'm like, this is way too hard to do it for money. Like, what are y'all? I am just not motivated the same. But when you get, I personally have one of your amazing sweaters, and I know how I feel in it. And I've seen the kind of comments you get and the life-changing and like what people wear. It's almost like a prayer blanket when people are about to go into battle. Like they wear your, I am loved, I am enough, I am like, they wear that going out into their day, going out into battle, going out into dealing with hard things or overcoming. Like I've seen the comments, I've seen the impact you're making, and I'm just so proud of you. And I got chills from head to toe because it's just awesome. And I guarantee people that April was not just chilling 100% confident this entire journey. I don't know if you picked up on what I picked up on. I didn't know what I was doing. I've never done it before, never done this kind of industry before, never probably raised money this way before, never learned how to sell a product this way before, but you figured it out and you made it happen. And I just want to encourage you guys, if you're not picking up these little nuggets from her story, that's how it always feels. That's how it feels. And I don't want you to think you have to have it all together. You know, take the time to get organized. Of course, nobody's going to like invest in you if you're not organized. You don't, you know, do the details, you know what to do, but there is no such thing as the P word. Perfect is only a perspective for the moment until you learn more information. And so you're never going to get it perfect. You know, be like April. So this takes me back to, you know, you have mentored people, you empower people. Like you're what I call, I don't know if the word is an optimizer, but like you can see things that others can't and you can pull that out of them. And I'm one of those people. So you met 17-year-old little Brittany, and I've actually never asked you this before, but why the heck did you take the time to mentor me and believe in me at all at 17 years old?
Oh, I love you. Because you were willing. Because you were willing and you were open. And I really believe that that is all it is a willingness and an openness to want to learn and to be open. I mean, we laugh about it, but our listeners don't know this. I convinced Brittany to buy her first house.
Forced me.
And I said,
Forced me. I'm a waitress. Let me just give a quick picture. I'm a waitress. I'm 17, almost 18. I'm going through missionary training school so I can move to Africa. All I know is survival instincts and a waitressing background again. And I love pulling pranks on people. I had a heart for missions, but that's it. There's no award. I had nothing but credit card debt to show for my financial, brain. And this woman's like, "No, you're going to buy a house." And I'm like, I went to a meeting with her and they were telling me all about how to buy a house. And I was like writing notes. And I was like, I was pretending to write notes. And all I wrote down was, buying a house is too hard. Don't do it. And then I left pretending like I learned so much. So back to you. Back to you.
This is the best story ever, but this is so good because anybody listening, like this is how it all gets started. It really is how it all gets started. So instead, I just kind of take her down this journey of finding a house, realizing the appraised value, whatever. And then I was like, find roommates and get them to rent it out so that you don't have to pay a dime. So she up until the day of closing, she was coming to say, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I'd never even written a check before. I'd never paid a bill, really. Not like my parents did. I just paid, they didn't have bills. I just gave my roommates like cash back in the day and just say, okay, that's my portion of the rent. I'd never handled a bill before at this time. So it's terrifying. I didn't even know what a mortgage was.
Isn't that amazing though? I mean, and look at you. Like that's what's so inspiring about you, about me, is that there's only one common thing that we have, and that's the willingness to try and to learn. Mm-hmm. And knowing we're probably going to fail a time or two or three or four.
And you feel like you're going to fail the whole time too. So ignore the feeling. But I want to point out that the power of your circle, April was so much of my circle back then. And your circle will peer pressure you into doing things that level you up, make you a better person, and kick your butt into walking into your potential. And that's what she did. Now, she didn't put me into a house I couldn't afford. I wasn't buying it to impress people. I was buying a cash flowing asset and saving myself rent and setting myself up for life, plus learning a valuable skill. So know the difference. It's not that your friends are peer pressuring you into buying stuff. It's that she was pushing me to do something that I was scared to do. No one else supported me in, but it was good for my growth as a human. So I think that's really important to differentiate. Yeah,
exactly. And I think, you just summed it up though, is that, again, why you were willing to swim upstream. You were willing to try and you were willing to learn. Even if you wrote on your notebook, forget it, it's too hard. That wasn't the truth. You see what I'm saying? So going back to, let's say, my I am statements, here's a perfect example. I wasn't the A student in school growing up. So I thought I wasn't smart because I'm not one of the smart kids. Nobody ever classified me, put me in the bucket of like, oh, April's one of the smart kids. Instead, I knew who the smart kids were. Like, they're smart. And everybody is probably nodding their head going, yep, either they were one of the smart kids or they knew one of the smart kids. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't. Well, I thought that determined and dictated my future. I genuinely believe that, Brittany.
Well, that's what they told us.
Because the smart kids got the high-paying jobs. They were the doctors and the lawyers. Yep. So I never looked at my future as financially free because I wasn't one of the smart kids. Mm. But when I got a job that was $50,000 in 2004, which was more than my mom had ever made in her life, I thought I hit the lottery. Wow. And then in a month, I got promoted to $62,000. Well, I went and got a financial advisor. And let me back up. When I got that job, I wasn't qualified to be there. It was a total favor by God thing, but I wasn't qualified. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to find out who I am. I'm a fraud. I don't know this stuff. It's medical health records to teach military hospitals all over the world. But I actually began to study and apply myself. And guess what I started to believe about myself? I was smart.
Ooh.
Every night I went home and I studied and I applied and I studied and I applied. And I actually started to believe, oh my gosh, I am smart. I am smart. And then I was the one that got asked to train all of President Bush's staff in Bethesda and the entire VIP office. Me.
Wow.
I was the one. That was why I started my company of a healthcare IT, was because I took an opportunity, I ran with it, I learned, and I believed I was smart. I'll stop there.
No, I think that's amazing. And I think there's a common denominator. So she opened this door and then you ended up moving. And so we kind of lost touch for, I think, 7 or 8 years. But what she had planted a seed in me, and I guarantee you she's done this with other people and it didn't work out, you know? And we can talk about that later, is like losing hope as a mentor when people you mentor just do nothing with it. But what she planted in me was, in the process of buying that first house, I learned there's a thing called flipping houses, which she also taught me about, which, you know, we didn't go flip this house together. She didn't hold my hand the whole time, but she told me about it. And my willingness and curiosity to say, I don't want to ask other people for money when I want to build my own orphanages. I think this is a way that I could save up chunks of money to then buy an apartment complex and have this thing called cash flow she taught me about, to then fund my own dang orphanages and not ask anybody for nothing, which I love. And I want all of you to have that. It's nothing against working together with people, but may no one cap your calling. You know, may no one cap your calling. I have zero education, formal education besides high school in anything, but you better believe I went home and studied. I studied 12 hours a day and I worked almost the other 12 because I had to learn to become something. There was nobody giving this handout. And that's really the success criteria I've seen a lot in you. Like, I know there's probably not one industry I don't believe you could throw April into in any city in the world with any language, and she wouldn't dominate it if you gave her enough time, which is like a year, by the way. That's enough time. If she actually focused on any one thing for a whole year, she would take over the entire industry in that nation and then the world. Like, that's who she is. But as serial entrepreneurs, we got to focus on multiple things. So, but that's the thing, is like building up that self-reliance. And a lot of it, I think, can come from parenting. Like, my parents purposefully didn't give me anything. And I don't think they were evil or anything like that. We really didn't have a lot growing up. And so I made my own money. And when I got in trouble, guess what? I had to bail myself out. And so when you're a parent and you're wanting this self-starter, awesome, inspiring kid, don't freaking bail them out, because they take this survival instinct, the same thing April has, of just like, I will figure it out. I will go home and study and apply. No one can pay her enough to go home and sacrifice the friend time, the party time, the movie time, the boyfriend time to go do what she did, but she freaking did it. And she'll be able to take that with her for the rest of her life. That's why you're successful. That's one of the million reasons you're successful, but I think that's huge. So with that, most people have a huge fear of failure. That holds them back. Like, you've tried so many different industries, so many different types of businesses, and especially Illuminated, which has nothing to do with healthcare. How in the world did you overcome your fear of failure? And what advice do you have to others?
Yeah. So I'll say another book to reference. Dr. Caroline Leaf, she wrote a book called Who Switched Off My Brain, but she's a cognitive neuroscience scientist that studies the brain. And what I love about her is it is the practical guidance of what is happening in my brain. Why do I have fear? Why do I have this neurological response? So, everybody could relate to, you have to give a speech or you have to get on stage, you have whatever, you get those butterflies in your stomach and the cold sweats that people can't, everybody gets it no matter what. Well, it's the neurological response to what we believe. That's the easiest way to describe the fact that your nervous system and your brain are tied together. So the way she describes it, I feel like is so good. If you put your knuckles together, this is actually the size of your brain, anybody and everybody. So that is the size of my brain. And yep, that's the size of your brain. I know. so
Learned something today.
We have 2 thought processes, only 2 and only 2. You either have faith-based thoughts or you have fear-based thoughts. There's nothing in between. And faith doesn't necessarily mean religion or anything else, as you and I would probably put it towards like a faith-based or religious-based belief. No, you either believe it or you're afraid of it. And the more you recognize the fear-based thoughts that control you, the more you can eventually carry them over to the faith-based. And you can begin to walk in a total belief of who you are, where you're going, you know, what you're calling, what do you need to learn, how to surround yourself with the right people. So overcoming fears is practicing taking hold of the fears, healing them and saying, no, I'm sorry, go away. She calls them breeze through the trees. If you have triggers, you know, if the music comes on and it triggers a memory, but it's not a good memory, what happens? You start to have a reaction. Well, that is what it's like. She calls it breeze through the trees of your mind, that it's then taking that and being able to wash your mind through whether it's mantras or meditation or gratitude, but it's being able to, one, recognize the fear that's holding you back, and then two, replacing it to make it a belief structure to where you actually do it. I'll give a story. This is a perfect example story for me. So, you know, I get invited to come to Italy and ride bikes for 5 weeks with my kids for a fundraiser. And
she's leaving out that it's with Richard Branson.
Yes.
And a bunch of other celebrities.
Yes. So I get invited with, exactly. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. They're like, just come, bring the kids along. We're going to be riding bikes through Italy. Yes. Sign me up. I'm in for the month. Brittany, I fly to Oxford a month later. I had just had my fourth baby. My fourth baby was 6 months old. I had never run a 5K, and I was not the mom that worked out. I worked, you know, I didn't work out. I worked because I was having babies. Right. I get to Oxford. The first person I met, his name is Felix. I said, do you do these like fundraisers, like what we're doing? He's like, oh yeah, you know, I train with Lance Armstrong for fun. And I just finished my Ironman. I'm like, cool.
Okay.
Next person I meet, Maria. Hey Maria, I'm like, oh, good, a girl. Like, hey Maria, do you like do these fundraisers or these, like, I don't really understand what I'm for. She's like, yeah, I mean, I do ultra marathons for fun, just to see if I can beat my time from the last time.
Just to see.
Is 100 miles, just for fun, just to see if I can. Brittany, I'm not kidding. I went to my room and I cried because I felt, again, so unqualified. Like, why am I there? I just had a fourth baby. I can't even run a mile right now. And here I was signed up for what I found out was this insane physical challenge. And I went home feeling very defeated, obviously. And I made a decision. Either I just say, thank you guys so much for the invite, but I just had 4 babies and I'm running companies and I'm not fit.
It's a holy sounding excuse.
Right. I had every reason to be like, guys, it's just too much.
Socially acceptable excuse, for sure. Absolutely.
And trust me, it was totally justified in my head. Or I could try. I did not even own a bike. So I went to the store and I bought a bike. And I'll tell you what, I got on that bike for 20 minutes. Just rode some streets, 20 minutes, came back to the office. Next day, did it again. Next day, did it again. And when I was ready, I went to 30 minutes. And then after that, I was ready for 40 minutes. 6 months later, I showed up in Switzerland. We hiked from Switzerland over to Italy, 10 to 12-hour days on the mountain. I had 9 people start with me. I crossed the finish line with 5. 1 quit every day. That's how hard it was. Woo. We had 1 day of rest. We got on our bikes from the top of Italy to the bottom of Italy. I rode anywhere between 100 and 130 miles a day for 15 days. I mean, it was brutal. Oh, and then at the bottom of Italy, they shut down the Straits of Messina for us to swim over to Sicily. And of the 27 people that did the entire challenge with us, 8 didn't make it. That's how hard it was. I did, which I'm very proud of. And then we mountain biked over to Mount Etna, and we summited Etna in a day. And I'll tell you what, that was in 2016. That trip was again something very pivotal and life changing. 2016 was also when I packed up my kids a couple months later and walked out the door. But what I realized is that I was only as capable as I was willing to try.
Oof.
And fear of failing wasn't an option. I simply had to try and show up. And I did.
Oh my gosh, I'm only as capable as I'm willing to try. Chills from head to toe. Dang, girl, you are on fire today. So, I don't like to timestamp this alone, but I will say that this is 2020 and we are still at the, I don't know if it's the height, the weirdness. We're in the weirdest time ever. And COVID-19 is the current news story that is sweeping the world. A lot of people are having massive amounts of holy sounding excuses. I lost my job. My entire industry is shut down. The government has mandated that we're not allowed to open. Like, there are a lot of valid excuses for why not to do anything. What advice do you have? I mean, I know that you've done nothing but scale during this time, and the industries that you're in don't necessarily scale right now. You've found ways to navigate through this and find new opportunities. What advice do you have for the mindset and actions of people who are reading the news and have every logical reason why to not try right now?
Well, there's no excuse to not try. There's not. So you just hit a lot of things, actually. Let's see. I think for me, yeah, I mean, to me, you just don't make excuses. But let's take COVID, for example. COVID happens and it hurts everyone. I mean, you can't, like, it hurts everyone. It doesn't help anybody. It hit and it continues to hurt everyone. However, let me tell you what I did from a practical standpoint, because for me, rather than taking the pain, like I talked about earlier in the podcast, how do I make this my purpose and my passion? Okay, so taking that in mind, the pain of COVID, over here is one of my other businesses, healthcare IT. So in healthcare IT, hospitals are being shut down, doctors' offices are being shut down, patients can't be seen. Then you have the COVID crisis. They're only, so whatever the case may be. My company calls me, April, I'm afraid we're going to lose all our contracts, and that basically our people are going to let go. Well, we're a contract-based business. So if they cut us off, we're done. Like, okay, that's it. All 12 years of all this work to just be done. So what did I do? I asked a question, and asking questions, which you're really good at. I've watched you throughout the years. You just ask and 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 ask, because it's like eventually you'll figure it out or unlock something. But I asked a question of, okay, then what does the industry need? And where is the industry going? So what does it need? Well, how are patients being seen right now? Telehealth. And all of a sudden, the world of telehealth and telemedicine, which I believe is completely the wave of the future. I believe that in 10 years from now, even my children, they'll be like, you actually went to the doctor? Why?
Right. Why are we going? It is gross. It is gross.
What? Exactly. Because now the technology and the equipment and everything is at our fingertips, where we can actually get Bluetooth telescopes, put them on, and the doctor can do what they need to do and tell you what, it's unbelievable.
I didn't even know that.
The equipment out there is unreal. Eventually, it's going to be completely self-sustainable and at-home self-care. The technology alone, I mean, and even the wearables, look at the wearable technology and the AI attached to it, and then how it's going to interact with technology from a telehealth perspective. It's just mind-blowing. Well, we realized there was zero education, Brittany, no education on telehealth. If you go Google right now, telehealth education, how to set things up, like what do we need to know? How do doctors get trained? The nurses now do what? What is happening?
There was no system out there?
There
what an opportunity. Dang, girl.
There is the telehealth of Applied School of Medicine, but that is attached to the Department of Agriculture, because telehealth is still under the Department of Agriculture, because telehealth has been around for years, but for farmers, because But now COVID has made it, billions of encounters have now happened due to telehealth. So we took it and we ran with it. We're getting certified to be able to offer credentialing education and certified education and credentialing medical education credits. So now everybody has to get continuing education credits, and we're taking it global, and we're going to be the first telehealth institute, and we're going to launch in all the English speaking countries in the next month, in Australia and India and New Zealand and the UK and America and Canada, to be able to teach the workforce on all the things telehealth. So I've been hiring the best of the best. We've been launching our LMS system. And I would have never done this had the crisis of COVID not happened.
Crisis. It is a crisis. And of course, it's horrible that people are losing their lives. But as business people, something we live and die by, and I've literally preached to my team every single day. Every day. We went from meeting once a week in the morning on Monday to we meet every day because times change quickly. And every day we say, opportunity never goes away. It only switches places. So where did it go? Because by God, we are not waiting for something to happen. We are going to kick the door in of where opportunity has moved to, and we're going to find it, and we're going to just make it. So I think it's important that you didn't sit around and cry that 12 years of work, 12 years of work gone. We lost our contracts. No, you're like, nope, where'd it go? Where's the new opportunity? Let's shift. Let's repurpose. Let's flex. Let's pivot. Whatever we got to do, we're going to make this happen. So I love that because I love the memes. I do love memes. I think they're hilarious. But I actually got convicted about joking about how bad of a year 2020 was because it's been nothing but awesome for me. And I actually felt like God's like, don't ever say that 2020 has been bad because you've been nothing but blessed. So blessed you get to teach other people and share with other people the same kind of thing that you just did. So I've had April teach on G-Force. What are the kind of strategies that she's using and doing to scale her businesses during 2020? Now, for those of you listening to this in 2030, the same essential elements of whatever the quote unquote world crisis is today, it's the same timeless lessons. So that's absolutely amazing. I've got a couple more questions. I could talk to you all day is what I'm realizing. You're amazing. And I'm just so grateful for you in my life. She has been the person I call when I want to jump off the ledge of wanting to stay in the game of business, and you have to have your Aprils, find your Aprils or just follow April and see if she'll do something nice for you, which is lovingly kick your butt into reminding you about your why. This has never been about you, Brittany, is what she says. You raised your hand and said you want to be used for something bigger. You want to help end things. There's little girls out there that need you to figure this stuff out. And I'm like, I'm just quitting because I'm tired or I'm just whatever. But when you remember and you have people remind you, then your insecurity, your fear really does go out of the way. So we have our self-doubt, but when you have the right circle and the right voices, it really goes away. So having this tribe is probably my best advice. Do you have any experience in that yourself?
Yeah, so I was actually gonna piggyback off that. I say all the time, literally all the time, birds of a feather flock together. And it is I cannot emphasize how important it is to surround yourself with like-minded people, to make sure that your tribe is that you're on the same page. I mean, I heard this analogy, this story that it's like if I am hanging out with 5 millionaires, if being a millionaire is important, if I'm hanging out with 5 millionaires and I'm the sixth person, what's going to happen? Eventually, I'm going to be the sixth millionaire.
Right.
Because it's like you can't help it. And it's not about the money or the wealth. It's about who you are surrounding yourself with. Birds of a feather flock together. And if you want to know who you are, look who you're surrounding yourself.
Look at that bird next to you and be like, dang, I am that bird.
Yes.
Never
And
heard.
it's just so important. I can't emphasize it enough. And making sure that you are putting somebody in your life that can be that force for good and can elevate you to that next place, and to quiet the voices when they are screaming out you, or there's fear happening or anything that's in your way. Somebody that can come along and say, no, 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 let me silence them for you, because it's sometimes it's hard to do it on our own, and that's when we need each other, and we just need to say, listen, like, whew, I'm believing these lies. I think they're lies. Just help me to like get rid of them and replace them. But you have to have people in your life to do that for you,
I
and
love
vulnerability, and be vulnerable enough to do that. Because everybody always wants to act like, oh, I have it all together and my life is great. And social media, especially, will it kills people, and especially the younger generation. Everyone thinks there's this Jones mentality of not only keeping up with the Joneses, but I'm not pretty enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not as popular enough, I'm not wealthy as enough, I'm not as successful enough. And none of that matters. None of that matters. People matter, and you matter.
And if you want to know what really matters, write your eulogy.
Right, exactly.
That's the fastest simulation to understanding what really matters, even to you, just to you. It's really, death is nothing more than stripping away of everything that's not you. And so writing that story is incredibly eye-opening. And I love that. One of the things you were just saying reminds me of my favorite Billy Alsbrook's quote, which is to quarantine the mind and quarantine yourself from the wrong voices, the people speaking all these negative things into your life. And so if you don't have access to the people, because there was like, oh, I just have the people around me, or I'm quarantined, depending on what country you live in, there is no excuse if you have access to the internet. And so I couldn't be best friends with Tony Robbins, but by God, I could listen to every single thing he ever put out there. Yeah. I didn't have access to even hanging out with April at certain times, but I can listen to her podcasts. I can listen to her on G-Force. I can read her book when it comes out. And by listening to the voices that you respect, again, only adopt the areas that you want to be like them in, because April could be amazing in this area and terrible at this area. I'm not going to discount the person because she's not perfect, because we're humans and no human's perfect. But for example, Tony Robbins, I love his business advice. So I'm going to adopt that, but I'm going to leave this piece. There's no excuse to not surround myself with that. So in the beginning of my career, the first couple of years, I actually gave up music and I replaced it with only audiobooks and only teachings. I completely quarantined myself in a bubble of, I have to learn this fast. Why? I'm living in my car. Also, there are little girls out there being trafficked, and I want to find a way to help end that. Every day I have not a bad pressure, but a good pressure to know I can put pieces together to help do something about that. And so there's a rush to figure it out. So go after it. So I love it. I love it. I love it. You are amazing. I've got a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
You have been a member of G-Force since the beginning. What have you most enjoyed about it? Or for the people who have never listened in on a mastermind call, what would you say people can take away from it?
Yeah, G-Force is so impressive. It's definitely something to become a part of. I'm not just saying that because it's, yours, but I think that what is so impressive and what I love about the way it is structured is that you're genuinely trying to hit all facets of life. What's happening in the world? How can I educate you financially? How can I educate you in marketing? How can I give you new ideas? How can I coach you? And then surround yourself with people that are basically on this path together. And I think, it's not just a financial call. It's not just a fitness call. It's a whole life call. Like, genuinely, you have brought in and people and stories and teachings and tellings where it's the whole person. It's the whole person that you're like, here, let me give you as much as I possibly can for many different people, and then it's up to them to take it away and like run with it. And then then creating the accountability inside of it. I love the way you've structured it. There is no reason to fail. If people are a part of G-Force, in me, there's just no reason to fail. There's not. You have knowledge, you have experts, and then you have others to just say, I have a question or I need help. I think failure only comes from not asking or
Ooh,
not surrendering or saying, I need help.
that is powerful. That is powerful. And that's huge. If you can be vulnerable enough to ask those questions and to be in the right circle, you're going to get the help you need. And that's what we create, is these safe places, these vulnerable places. So thank you for all the value that you've added and all the teaching that you've done in there. I've got another really big, important question, and then I'm going to ask you how people can follow you. But how do you think in great times of turmoil, people can be a force for good in the world?
Mm. I think so. One of the things that I I wish I had done earlier,
Mm-hmm.
that I do now, is quiet myself every morning and listen. And I write a morning light that goes out every morning, and people are asking. I genuinely write them every single morning.
Wow.
But it's because I take time to just sit with myself and listen. And I believe that I can only give to the world. I can only give that morning light. I can only share, who God is for me, or what I can do on what He's asking me to do if I just stay quiet and listen. And I think we don't stay quiet enough to listen to that still small voice. And I'm talking to myself too, but I feel like I would be even more of a fierce force for good, or had been even early on, not just in giving my money, but by simply quieting myself and say, what can I offer
Mm.
today to others, to the world, to myself, and to God?
Mm.
It's living from within.
Mm.
It's not just the doing or the money or anything else. It's I can only be as good as I allow myself to be, and let what I believe God to live in me and flow out of me. And that for me is my force for good.
Ooh, girl. How can we sign up for your morning light?
Ooh, I'll give you a link where you can, attach a link where people can just sign up. And I write those every morning, Monday through Friday. And it's always an I am.
Mm.
So this morning I wrote, I am full of trust. And it's just a 30-second read, maybe a minute read. It's very short, but the purpose is to inspire somebody to, if they are struggling with trust, maybe today would be that place where they can say, no, I'm full of trust. So yeah, I'll give you a link where they can sign up. And then I'm
Awesome.
also launching, which you're probably going to talk about, but I'm also launching, which I'm really excited. It's an I am challenge, and it's hashtag I am challenge. And they can go over to Illuminative, or on Instagram at I am illuminative. And illuminative means to create light. And so why I named it that was to produce light and to be light. And that anything that illuminative does is just that, is
Mm.
creating light, which essentially is a force for good. But on August 24th, and I know if someone's listening to this in 2030, hopefully we'll still doing it. I'm doing a 21-day challenge where it's completely free. I'm teaching 3 to 5 minute videos, and every day has a purpose and a mission on how to unlock the things that are holding you back. And I'm
Wow.
going to do teach, and you get a workbook, and just to take people along the journey so that we can, unlock those hidden talents or things that has been holding us back. So that's exciting. I'm really excited to do that. It's a fun, another little passion project to kind of take people along that journey to say, no, like, upgrade your life. It is time. Let's do this. And how do you
Yes.
take the I am challenge and watch your life change in 21 days?
Oh, I love it. I was working out the other day, and God, I feel like God just spoke to me, and it was like, you know what? I'm going to freaking go for it all. I'm going to have the impact. I'm going to have the relationship. I'm going to have the health. I'm going to have the wealth. I'm going to have it all because I'm every day managing my time, surrounding myself with the right people, educating myself, like freaking going for it. And that is like the point of G-Force. That's a point of reading Illuminate. That's a point of taking part in these challenges and leveling yourself up. What are you going to do? No one cares enough about you to force you to do it. You have to do the work. And
Yeah.
your life's only gonna be better for
Yeah.
you. Why would you
Yeah.
not go for it all? So I love this. I can't wait to do your 21-day challenge.
Yeah. I'm
Any
excited.
last words of advice to people
Um,
watching at home?
Just like exactly what you were just saying in regards to I am going to, I would actually take out the going to and just leave it as I am. I am.
Ooh,
I
okay.
am healthy. I am wealthy. I am successful. I am a good friend. I'm a good, um, I'm, I am loved. It's not I am going to, it's I am, because that's who I believe we are called to be, who God created us to be. And it's just simply accepting it and walking in it. It's not something to achieve to or aspire to. If we walk in it today, it will naturally follow us and bless us.
Mm,
And just walking in that favor, every single moment of every single day. I don't want to look at as if I haven't arrived. I want to see how I can go higher. I always picture myself as an eagle flying and soaring, with the wings, of God under me, but at the same time is covering over me. But it's like, then I just get to go higher, which is more fun, and exciting. So for anybody who's listening, you have arrived and you are worthy and you are wonderful and you are awesome and you are smart and you are talented and you are most definitely capable. And if you just believe that about yourself, who knows, what will happen not only today but tomorrow.
wow. April, you are truly a force for good. Thank you for my beautiful life that
Thank you for having me.
you set into motion. Thank you for all the things I've been able to do because you took the time to believe in somebody who wasn't qualified. And I'm eternally grateful.
Well, look at you. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for having me. It's so fun. It's so fun. I'm such a big fan and I'm so proud of you.
Just living in your legacy, girl. Just living in your legacy. I highly recommend you all follow April on Instagram and follow Illuminative. Sign up for the morning light. We're going to have the links below. Give her a like, subscribe, follow this wonderful, amazing human being, and help encourage her on her awesome journey. We love you, April. Mwah.
Love you. Thank you. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.